special security escort to Court 6 last night. There were thousands of Filipinos who tried to get a glimpse of the star on Court 6. Hundreds didn't manage to get in. They were, in fact, quite rowdy at times, told to be quiet.
I think it's only normal that with the loss comes disappointment and being upset. But then again, it's another opportunity for me to take and learn and grow as a player.
The Australian president just made a move that has the tennis world absolutely shaking right now. And Aryna Sabalenka, the world #1, is reportedly fuming about what just went down in Melbourne. If you want to see how tennis politics really work behind the scenes, smash that subscribe button right now because this story is wild. Here's what happened. Eala, the 19-year-old Filipino tennis sensation, just received a personal invitation from the Australian president to return to Melbourne for a special exhibition match. Not from Tennis Australia, not from the WTA, from the president of the entire country. And when I tell you the scenes that followed were absolutely insane, I mean thousands upon thousands of Filipino fans descended on Melbourne like a tidal wave of red, white, and blue flags.
Now, Eala, she's really been the talk of Melbourne Park today. She's just 20 years old, ranked 49 in the world. But the reason why there is just so much interest is because she's the highest ranking Filipino in history. And if yesterday's crowds were anything to go by, we can expect it's going to be another chock-a-block night here at Melbourne Park.
The energy was unlike anything tennis has seen in years. But here's where it gets controversial. While Aryna Sabalenka sits at #1 in the world rankings, it's Eala who's getting presidential treatment, government security escorts, and crowds so massive that stadiums literally cannot contain them. And Sabalenka is not taking this well at all. During the Australian Open just weeks ago, Eala created history without even winning the tournament. When she stepped onto the court, Filipino fans came out in numbers that absolutely stunned everyone. We're talking about families who saved for months to fly to Australia, students who pooled their money together, entire communities organizing watch parties and travel groups just to support their national hero. The atmosphere was electric, passionate, and completely overwhelming. Security had to create special corridors just to get Eala through the crowd safely.
Been another record-breaking day here at Melbourne Park. As you can see at the moment, just look at these crowds on a spectacular summer's night here in Melbourne. The last time we saw the record broken for the first Tuesday set at about 58,000 back in 2020. That has now been broken today, set at about 61,000. So as you can see, just another ripper start to the Australian Open here at Melbourne Park.
Thousands of fans were chanting her name, waving massive Philippine flags, and creating an energy that veteran tennis commentators said they had never experienced before at the Australian Open. But here's the problem that sparked this entire controversy. The WTA scheduled Eala on Court 6, a relatively small venue compared to the main stadiums, and the result was predictable chaos. Thousands of devoted Eala fans couldn't get in. The court was packed to absolute capacity within minutes, and security had to turn away massive crowds of disappointed supporters who had traveled from across the world just to see their hero play. Parents with young children crying because they couldn't get in. Elderly Filipinos who made the journey of a lifetime standing outside, hoping to hear the cheers from within. It was heartbreaking and, frankly, completely avoidable if the WTA had properly assessed Eala's drawing power. Fast forward to today, and the Australian president saw what happened. He witnessed the disappointment. He recognized the incredible passion of the Filipino community, and he made an unprecedented decision. He personally reached out to Eala and invited her back to Australia for a special exhibition match with full presidential honors. This wasn't a routine tennis event. This was the Australian government organizing a sporting celebration specifically for one player who isn't even in the top 10. Think about that for a second. The president of an entire nation stepping in to correct what he clearly saw as a missed opportunity and a disservice to passionate fans. The message was clear. Eala deserves better treatment, and the Filipino community deserves to see their champion play in an environment worthy of the support they bring. When Eala returned to Melbourne for this presidential exhibition match, history repeated itself in the most spectacular way. Once again, thousands of Filipino fans flooded the streets. Once again, the atmosphere was absolutely electric. But this time, there was something different. Government security was there in full force. Eala received a motorcade escort typically reserved for visiting dignitaries. Police cleared pathways through the massive crowds. This was VIP treatment at the highest level, and it sent a clear message to the entire tennis world about how much Australia values what Eala represents. The stadium filled up instantly, just like before. Despite organizers trying to accommodate more people, thousands were still left outside, desperately trying to get a glimpse of their hero. News crews captured scenes of Filipino families setting up outside the venue, bringing radios and phones to follow the match, creating impromptu street parties because they couldn't get tickets. This is the kind of cultural phenomenon that transcends sport. And when Eala walked onto that court with presidential backing and government protection, she absolutely delivered. The tennis was brilliant. Her ground strokes were crisp and powerful. Her movement was quick and precise, and that signature smile that has captured hearts worldwide was on full display. She played with freedom and joy, feeding off the incredible energy from her supporters and giving them a performance they would remember forever. But while all of this celebration was happening, reports started emerging that Aryna Sabalenka was less than thrilled with the situation. And honestly, you can understand her frustration from a certain perspective. Here's Sabalenka, the legitimate world #1, who has worked incredibly hard to reach the top of women's tennis. She's won multiple Grand Slam titles. She's dominated the tour for extended periods. By every objective tennis metric, she's the best player in the world right now, yet she's never received a personal invitation from a country's president. She's never had government security escorts for exhibition matches. She's never seen crowds of thousands unable to get into stadiums specifically to watch her play.
Hopefully we're gonna get there.
What do you think of Eala's challenge? Like she won the first set and she...
Well, I think she's kind of like she has nothing to lose and she go out there and she just play with the courage and then like going for like crazy shots, I think, and
From Sabalenka's viewpoint, this has to feel like a slap in the face. She's put in the work, achieved the results, and holds the top ranking, but Eala, currently ranked 41st in the world, is getting treatment that suggests she's the bigger star. And the uncomfortable truth that Sabalenka is facing is that in many ways, Eala actually is the bigger draw right now. This situation perfectly illustrates something that traditional tennis rankings can't measure: cultural impact and fan connection. Eala isn't just a tennis player to millions of Filipinos around the world. She's a symbol of possibility and national pride. She's proof that a young woman from the Philippines can compete on the biggest stages in tennis. She represents dreams coming true for an entire generation of Filipino kids who can now imagine themselves as professional athletes. The Philippines is a nation of over 110 million people, and the Filipino diaspora spreads across every continent. These communities are incredibly tight-knit and passionately supportive of their own. When one of their own succeeds on a global stage, the support is overwhelming and unconditional. Eala has tapped into something that goes far beyond her current world ranking. She's created a movement, and that movement has real economic and cultural value that tennis organizations are finally starting to recognize. Now, what really lit the fuse on this entire situation was when Novak Djokovic, arguably the greatest tennis player of all time, publicly called out the WTA for their treatment of Eala during the Australian Open. Djokovic didn't hold back. He said the WTA made a massive mistake by putting Eala on small courts despite knowing the enormous crowds she attracts. He argued that the environment directly impacts player performance, and by not providing Eala with appropriate staging, the WTA potentially contributed to her first-round exit.
Players coming from respective countries, like she's coming from Philippines, which is now a big deal. You know, she's been the biggest ever, tennis player from that country, which is a big country, and there's a big interest. So things like that happen. I mean, it's you could argue that it was, maybe a poor schedule, and maybe they could schedule him on a bigger court. Yes, but again, she's so young and she's just coming through. So
Djokovic went on record saying that Eala is the greatest tennis player the Philippines has ever produced and deserves respect commensurate with her impact on the sport. He pointed out that while rankings matter, so does the ability to inspire, to draw crowds, and to grow the game globally. And on all those metrics, Eala is performing at an elite level. Coming from someone with Djokovic's stature and experience, these comments carried enormous weight. This wasn't just another player complaining about scheduling. This was a tennis legend with decades of experience at the highest levels saying that the system is broken and needs to change. Djokovic knows what it's like to play in front of passionate national supporters. Serbian fans have followed him around the world for his entire career. He understands the energy that cultural connection brings to a player's performance. And he clearly recognized that same dynamic with Eala and her Filipino supporters. The Australian president apparently agreed with Djokovic's assessment. By bringing Eala back to Melbourne with full governmental support, he was making a statement that went beyond tennis. He was acknowledging that sports are about more than just rankings and tournament results. They're about community, representation, and giving people heroes they can believe in. What makes this situation even more fascinating is watching how Eala herself has handled all of this attention and controversy. She hasn't gotten caught up in any drama. She hasn't made inflammatory statements about the WTA or other players. Instead, she's shown remarkable maturity and grace for a 19-year-old thrust into an incredibly complex situation. In every interview, Eala expresses genuine gratitude for the support she receives. She talks about how honored she feels to represent the Philippines. She acknowledges that she still has work to do to climb the rankings and prove herself against the best players in the world. There's no arrogance, no entitlement, just humble appreciation and fierce determination.
It's so special, they make me more and more special, to be Filipino is something I take so much pride in. And I don't have a home tournament, so to be able to have this community here at the US Open, I'm so grateful that they made me feel like I'm home.
This why her fans love her so deeply. She's not just talented, she's authentically connected to where she comes from. She remembers what it means to be Filipino, to come from a country that doesn't have the same tennis infrastructure as the United States or Europe, to have to work twice as hard for half the recognition. Her humility makes her relatable, and her success makes her inspirational. Since the Australian Open, Eala has been working incredibly hard to back up the hype with results. She's climbed from outside the top 50 to 41st in the world, which represents significant progress in a very competitive field. Every ranking point is earned through grueling matches against world-class opponents. Every position gained requires consistency, physical conditioning, and mental toughness. Eala is proving that she's not just popular, she's genuinely good at tennis and getting better rapidly. But what this whole presidential invitation controversy really exposes is a fundamental question about how tennis should be organized and promoted. Should everything be based purely on current rankings, with the top players getting the biggest courts, the best time slots, and the most resources? Or should there be flexibility to recognize when a player has extraordinary drawing power and cultural significance that transcends their current ranking? The traditional tennis establishment would argue for the ranking-based system. It's objective, measurable, and rewards current performance. But the Australian president's decision suggests an alternative view, that tennis is entertainment and cultural expression, not just athletic competition. And if a player can fill stadiums and create passionate fan experiences, that value should be recognized and leveraged regardless of ranking. This is where Aryna Sabalenka's reported frustration comes from. She's operating under the old system where being number one means you get the best treatment. But the rules seem to be changing, and players like Eala are benefiting from a new understanding of what creates value in professional sports. The reality is that both players deserve respect and recognition. Sabalenka has earned her ranking through exceptional tennis. Eala has earned her popularity through cultural connection and inspiring representation. These aren't mutually exclusive values, and ideally, the tennis world would find ways to honor both. What happens next is going to be fascinating to watch. Will the WTA adjust their approach to scheduling and player management based on drawing power and not just rankings? Will other players start building the kind of cultural connections that Eala has created? Will Sabalenka and other top-ranked players push back against what they see as unfair preferential treatment? The Australian president has made his position clear. He believes Eala deserves celebration, governmental support, and platforms worthy of the crowds she attracts. He's put the prestige of his office behind that belief, and that's not something that happens lightly. This presidential invitation is more than just a nice gesture for a popular player. It's a statement about values, about what sports mean to communities, and about recognizing impact that goes beyond wins and losses. For Filipino communities around the world, this moment represents validation. Their passion and support have been acknowledged at the highest levels. Their hero has been honored by a national government. The message is clear. Your voices matter, your representation matters, and the players who carry your hopes deserve respect. For the broader tennis world, this is a wake-up call. The sport is changing. New markets are emerging, different kinds of stars are being created, and the organizations that adapt to these changes will thrive, while those that cling to old models risk being left behind. Eala's journey is just beginning. At 41st in the world and climbing rapidly, with presidential backing and millions of devoted fans, her future is incredibly bright. She's not just chasing rankings anymore. She's building something bigger. She's becoming a global ambassador for Filipino excellence, a symbol of possibility, and a catalyst for change in how tennis thinks about star power and cultural impact. This is the new era of tennis, where connection matters as much as competition.